So I've just come into the garage to do a few miles on the treadmill and realised that I've not done an update on the Civic for quite some time. So quick 5 minute catch up on George. As you can see, now he's predominantly in primer. I'll have a quick walk around the car. Again, as usual, these things take longer than expected. Blah 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 blah. I won't bore you with the details, but I'll let you know where we're up to, take you around the car, show you some of the issues and some of the good stuff. So first of all, you'll notice that there's still a few little bits and pieces. It's funny how when you, well, as somebody who's not professionally trained to do this, you think you've got all the dents out, you think you've got all the major dings and dents, and there will be some dents even when the car's painted. I'm not going to go spending 100, 200 hours picking out every little imperfection on the car. What I am going to try and do is get all the major kind of dings and dents, the kind of things that are going to really bug me over a period of time. So after I primed the car, found a few more bits and pieces, and you'll see that these little bits of filler and black marks where I've just marked the spots that need to be addressed. So looking a whole heap better, I think, but then again, you might disagree. I'll have a quick look under the bonnet, or the hood, or the lid, or the whatever. So, again, I didn't really have any intentions of doing primer on the whole of the engine bay, but while I was there, it seemed sensible to do that, and the back of the bonnet, hood, lid has been completely stripped and primed. So that's all looking good. So this is all going to need wet sanding before painting. And obviously I'm going to remask the whole car. Obviously the car was masked up for doing the priming, but I always change the masking between the base coat or the primer and the top coat. The hatch is off the car. That needs a little bit more work on the inside, but it's in pretty good condition now. A few lumps and bumps on that hatch that need to be straightened out a little bit more. Mentioned before, found some more little dinks and dents once I'd actually done the primer. Into the back of the car, and you'll see the original 1973. And I say 1973 because it turns out that this car, although it was registered in 75 in the UK, turns out, according to the chassis number, that it's actually a very early 1973 car, so it's a very, very early car. Why it wasn't registered in the UK till 75, I've no idea. It probably sat in the docks or sat in storage or whatever, but it is a 1973 car, which is, I guess, makes it more interesting if you're into that kind of thing. Old cars, it doesn't make any difference to me, but hey, there we go. So that's the little prop I used to remove the tailgate. That's not JDM timber, that's just Derbyshire's finest. But anyway, fuel tank. So this went back in the car, and unfortunately the feeder pipe that goes up to the engine was completely solid. 35 years of fuel had solidified in that pipe. To cut out 2 access panels into the tank. It goes without saying that you should never, 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 unless it's been fully defumed, cut into a tank. I'm sure nobody's that insane. If I can just point under here, you'll see I've drilled out where the pipe's going through. It's actually 7mm pipe with a 2mm wall, which is quite an unusual thickness. So I've had to order that in specially. So basically, I'll have to bend the pipe. It was an absolute nightmare to get out, but the pipe bends. The pickup is down here, but there's a baffle that runs along the tank along here. So the pipe goes along the top, over the baffle, down into the base of the tank, and then is fixed to the base. I'll sort that when the pipe comes through, but basically I'll clean all this up, weld it flat again, make sure it's all sealed, and we're up, that should be fine. And I'm really, really pleased, thanks to Jay mentioning it to me, just saying you need to check inside your tank. Some of these tanks actually have an internal fuel gauze filter, and that's what I was actually checking for. This doesn't have an internal filter gauze. However, what it did have was a completely blocked fuel feeder, so in a roundabout way that's been fixed. So round to here, this is a real nuisance. I'd not even noticed there was a really terrible dent here, and I'm working on getting that will be fine. But it's one of those things, I have no idea why I didn't spot it, because it was huge. And I noticed it while I was actually priming. So, you know, you do miss these things. So that will be sorted. The doors are pretty much done. There's a little bit more work to do on both of those. Again, they're not entirely perfect. If you're a professional restorer, which I'm not, but I'm quite happy with them, and yeah, they'll look fine. One last thing to mention, I don't know whether I mentioned this in a previous video. These are very solid at the moment. So the top hinges on these older cars, and the hinge here, or the hinge pin, the pins were fine on my doors, but the actual bushing that goes through had split. The driver's one had completely disappeared, which meant that the door had dropped by about a centimetre. On the passenger side, there was just a little bit of play. This is absolutely solid now. So I did a little bit of research and found that the 1994 Grand Jeep Cherokee had a similar hinge pin. The kits were available for £5 a side. This is a 9mm pin. The original 7mm. You have to drill out. It's a little bit of drilling to do, and I'd looked like a circlip, so that was no problem to change over. But basically, I've replaced both sides top hinges now. They'll last, well, maybe they'll last another 48 years as long as this car's been around. But basically, that's been fixed for £10, which is, yeah, we like things like that. That's a good thing. So you've seen this, but from the other side, battery trays all fixed up fine. I'm really looking forward to doing even more sanding. If you really don't like sanding, restoring classic cars is not the hobby for you, because it feels like I've spent the last month sanding this car. So there we are. Just get right in shot. There's George. More primer, more sanding, more flatting, and then we'll be on to paint. I'd like to think in the next couple of weeks, but I have a habit of saying that, and then these things don't happen. So we'll see what happens, but you know, progress is definitely being made. If you've got any comments or questions, fire them down below this video, and I shall see you in the next video.